Welcome back, Finxters. Now in this video we are going to learn how we can perform testing in PyCharm. For any application or code to be operational, it must undergo the testing phase, and PyCharm facilitates us with numerous testing frameworks for testing our code. Now the default test runner in PyCharm is unit test. However, PyCharm also supports numerous other testing frameworks like PyTest, Nose, DocTest, Tox, and Trial. So without further delay, let us have a look at an example and understand how testing works in PyCharm. So if you have a look on the screen, we have a program such that we have a class by the name currency converter, and within the class we have three functions. The first function goes by the name euro, the second is yen, the third is pound. Within each function we are returning the amount multiplied with a certain digit or a certain amount. This means we are converting the amount from dollars to the specific currency. Now, I know that currency conversion rates vary from time to time. This is just an example. Please do not consider this to be the exact value. I have just written a program to explain the things to you. Now we are going to create a test class for this. Now this is where PyCharm comes into use. We can simply create a test class with the help of PyCharm without having to put in a lot of effort. Now what do I mean by that? You'll see that in a moment. There are three ways in which you can create a class or a test class using PyCharm. The first way is to right click on the code, or now this is very important, you must right click on the class name. Make sure you do that in order to avoid confusion. Then go to or select go to, and from the side menu select test. Once this appears, click on create new test. This was our first method. The second method is a shortcut. If you are on Windows, you can simply press Ctrl, Shift and T, which will bring up the create new test dialog box for you, and you can simply click on create new test and follow the next steps. Now the third method is from our main menu. Select navigate and then select test. And as you can see, we again have our dialog box which asks us to create the new test. Now let's create our new test class finally. Now as you can see, we can select one of the functions or all of the functions from this window. So these are the functions that we have in our class. I'll create a test case for each of the functions. So I have selected all of them, and let's click on OK. Now as you can see, without having to type a single line of code, PyCharm helps us with the test class automatically. All we need to do now is just create the test cases. So let's create the test cases. Now as you can see, if we run this code, each case will fail because we have not defined our test cases here. So we need to define our test cases within each function so that we can check each function accordingly. So I'll simply replace self.fail with the following line of code. Before that, we also need to import the currency converter class. So to do that, from our module currency we want to import currency converter. Okay, now within the test case for the euro function, we have our test case which checks when the function returns the result, it should be equal to 86. Similarly, we will have to define each case for each function. So for yen, let us check if we pass 100, it should be 10460. So let's do that. 10460. And now for the pound function, let's check, it should be 77. Now just for a change, let us make a mistake. Let us make it 70 so that couple of tests are successful while the last test is not successful. So I hope you understand what's going on here. Here we are checking if we pass the value 100 within each function, then the corresponding output from the return statement should be 86 in case of the euro function. In case of the yen function, it should be 10460, whereas in the case of pound function, it should be 70. Now, in order to begin the testing, we need to right click and then run unit tests in test underscore currency module. You can also press Ctrl Shift and F10 if you are using Windows. So let's do that. And as you can see, the unit tests have begun. And okay, the euro function was successful. However, pound and yen failed. Now let's check why that happened. In case of pound, it should have been 86, but it returns 70. Okay, since we copied and pasted the code, we forgot to make the necessary changes. So within euro, it should be euro, while within yen, it should be yen, while within the pound function, we need to call pound. Now let's rerun our test and check the output. And there we go. As you can see, as expected, the output or the tests for euro and yen were successful. However, for the pound function, the test failed. This is because the value that we passed was 100, and based on that, the output should have been, or the return statement should have returned 77, which is not equal to 70. And 70 is the value which we have defined in our test case. Now let's make it 77, and now let's check if all the tests are successful. And there we go. All our tests are successful now. So this is the window where you can check the output or the result of each test case. This icon here shows the passed tests, whereas this one will show you the ones that you have ignored. And this function here will sort your tests in alphabetical order. So as you can see, if I sort them in alphabetical order, then the first function in our list will be euro, the second one will be pound, and the third one will be yen. I hope testing in PyCharm was clear to you, and you can now successfully create test cases for yourself in PyCharm. If you have any doubts, please mention them in the comments below. Otherwise, please join me in the next video.